charcoal, and I'd like to talk to you a little bit about the pieces of work behind me, which harkens back to when I started shooting and showing my work in 1979, I believe. Let's get that out of the way. I started with black and white hand-colored photographs, and every show was always a little bit different because photography for me was always the underpainting. It was always the base of what I did. So a black and white photograph would get painted, or a color photograph would get painted and appliqued. I loved Polaroid until it went bankrupt, and I used Polaroid to express myself for about 15 years. And then when Polaroid went bankrupt, photography for me was never about realism. It was always about expression, and Polaroid allowed me to do that because it missed gradations and it made the picture seem more of a story and non-realistic. When Polaroid went bankrupt, I had to find a way to do that again, and I hadn't realized, but it was quite right under my nose because I'd always been swimming, and I saw these beautiful patterns, and I felt that one day I would shoot underwater, and this was my moment. And again, it was my Polaroid, taking the camera underwater and getting these abstract shapes, and I could use the tools of photography, slow shutter speed and some fill flash, to get that look that I wanted that was very painterly. And I have been doing that for 20 years, but I felt that because I live in Canada, I needed more photography. I needed to be able to shoot for the cold 6 months. And that brought me back to a story that I read about this process called tintype, ambrotype, wet-collodion photography. And what attracted me to it, which is the funny thing, was that I read that you could have your darkroom in the trunk of your car. And I thought, great, because I don't have a darkroom and I have a car, so this works. So I ended up doing that, and I ended up taking a course, signing up for a course in Toronto, which is where I live, and at the same time, I found a course in Santa Fe from people who were very well known in the process, who were teaching this joint course, so I thought for the same price I'd go down to Santa Fe. And I realized that this was much more, within seconds, this was much more complicated than it's not the trunk of a car type of process. And it's taken me about 7 years to learn. I've had studios and dark rooms. I have silver stains all over my face, on my hands, on my clothes. It's a trial and error type of process, but I loved it. And I'm passionate about this work. And what it is, very simply described, is what you're looking at is what I see looking through an 810 camera. I see the color image on the viewfinder, and I create with a darkroom the tintype, and it's a sepia toned picture. I was never in love with sepia tone, and I really wanted to find my own voice in this medium, because most people's pictures are close-ups, photographs of skin, showing the lines and the freckles and all that, and that's great. I didn't want to do that. I wanted to use it to express an idea and to express the experience of what wet-collodion photography was for me. My only caveat was I didn't like sepia, which was a big problem. So for 7 years I've been experimenting, and what I came up with was shooting the viewfinder in color and shooting the background and making my tintype, and then marrying the two with Photoshop. So it's using the oldest type of photography, that's like 1850-ish, with what I use now, puppet warp in Photoshop. So I could put together and blend these two eras and have a little space between the two where you have that moment to dream and to walk through the picture and actually experience what it felt like to make it. And I can't tell you how much fun it is to do this, and how much fun it is to introduce an assistant who puts his hands in a clear water solution and ends up looking he's got paw prints. That's my warped sense of humor, but anyways, so that's wet-collodion in the modern day. These are shadow boxes, these are this show is called Shadow Dancing, or Mystery Boxes, or whatever it is. I don't like to label my work. I like the viewer to actually experience it and decide what it is for themselves. And I hope you like it.